Good morning. Let me start by saying that it is a great honor for me to present to you at this official occasion the results of one of my research endeavors, and thank you all for joining. My presentation will have a slightly different focus than the previous two ones. I will present to you the results of a very specific research project which fits in the learning and innovation team. And the topic is the emails voucher project, which is run by Philips Electronics Netherlands. And this is a voucher scheme to stimulate the thinking about employability of employees. And let me start by asking the audience a question. And please raise your hand if the following applies to you. Who receives every now and then the email or brochure from the Human Resources Department outlining the various trainings offered by the university, but does not read this email or brochure? Yes, remember that a decent number of hands went up in the air. And then next, for whom of you is the reason not to read this, that you think you do not need training at this moment? Yes? Okay, we still have a number of hands up in the air, although we might have a very atypical audience here due to some selection effects. Let me first define to you what is employability, and remember shortly why I asked this question. What is employability? It refers to the capacity and willingness of workers to remain attractive for the labor market by reacting to and anticipating changes in tasks and work environment facilitated by the human resource development instruments available to them. That is employability. Why is that important? Workers who do not take account of their employability run the risk of becoming unattractive for the labor market. And how can you improve your employability? Training has been shown to increase your employability. So in the short sequence of bullet points, we have learned that training can influence positively employability. But as we have just playfully illustrated with the question to the audience, people are not easily motivated to participate in training, not even to read a brochure about the training offering. And ideally, all employees should regularly ask themselves the question, am I still employable enough? Now, to stimulate their employees to ask themselves this question and to learn about their own employability, Philips has developed the emails voucher system to increase their employees' employability awareness and their willingness to train. Philips have given all their employees a voucher worth 1,000 emails. This voucher can be spent on various courses that all aim to increase employability awareness. This voucher is thus not only a brochure that ends in your mailbox or in your pigeonhole. This is actually a voucher you receive. It has a face value, it has a worth, and you can spend it. So this has a different effect on persons if they get a certain endowment which they can spend. So how did we study this emails voucher system? This is joint work with Andries de Gip and Maaike Witlocks. And we asked ourselves two main questions. First, of course, which employees actually spent the voucher? And the second question is, what is the effect of spending the voucher on the employability awareness and on the willingness to train? The first thing we did was to regress voucher use on various personality traits and other personal characteristics. This is to find out which employees actually spent the voucher. The second thing we did was to measure the employability awareness before and after the introduction of the voucher scheme. We were fortunate to be asked by Philips before they actually started this and communicated this entire voucher scheme to their employees to think already in how to measure the effects of it, and we were able to design a questionnaire sent out to the employees before they knew about these emails. We analyzed the development in employability awareness over time by asking several questions on two different moments. And we distinguished between workers who spend their vouchers and workers who do not. Additionally, we correct for all these effects of differing personalities and other personality traits to get the most clean effect of what actually spending the voucher does to your employability awareness and your willingness to train. Now, what did we find? Which workers spend their voucher? Workers who are negatively reciprocal spend their vouchers less often. That means if I were a person and somebody does harm to me, I would be very eager to inflict some harm on this person as well. That is negative reciprocity. These workers may perceive the voucher as a threat, as an HR tool for outplacement. My employer gives me a voucher for training, employability training. Maybe that means they want to get rid of me, so let's not use the voucher. That is maybe the behavior that leads to this result. More logically, workers' ambition, goal setting, and their education level are positively related to voucher use. And women and those with longer tenure spend their voucher more often. So now we know which workers, which employees use their voucher, and what are now the effects of this voucher. We show that workers who spend their voucher have a positive development between time moment 1 and 2 on several measures of employability awareness, and they show an increasing willingness to train. Now, I will show you some of these measures. I myself am responsible for my future development. Positive development on this question. I have a clear view of how I want to develop myself in the next years, so this view has improved. How would you like to have a new job within Philips in the next 5 years? Hey, we see a minus sign here, I come back to this. Would you like to work for a different company in 5 years from now? And again, we see a positive sign here. The last 2 questions show that the mobility ambition has gone outward, so people have an increased external mobility because they use this voucher. And lastly, the willingness to train has increased, and we asked the question whether employees are willing to spend some hours of their free time to partake in a training which might give them a wage increase in a year from now. And this all compared to workers who did not spend their voucher and corrected for differences in personality and personal characteristics. Now, so people learn something about themselves, and after that they have a better view and are more willing to train. So this is an innovative way to stimulate people to actually learn something about themselves and to further invest in their own career. So summarizing, workers who spend their voucher, an innovative way to stimulate people to participate in training, show increased employability awareness, they show an increased willingness to participate in further training, and they show an increased ambition for a future career outside Philips, compared to workers who did not spend their emails voucher. Now, does this also have value for the firm? Because you might think, okay, why are they doing this? Well, if you assume that a firm is most benefited by having the right person in the right spot, you may assume that if people learn more about themselves, who they are, where they want to go career-wise, maybe personally-wise, what steps they need to take to get there, and if they're even more willing to take training, you might increase the chance that in the future you have more persons on the right spot within your firm. And this is just in a nutshell one example of a research project that fits in the learning and innovation team of the university. If you have questions on the banner market, I will be available. You can ask them here, or you can download the current working paper.
So, thank you very much. Would you recommend a similar scheme to Maastricht University?
Yes, I think we can increase the number of hands that do not go up in this case.
Okay, we'll think about it. Any questions? Yes, please.
If people who are talented are more likely to go away when you offer this training, isn't this hard to convince a company to do this when it shows that the people that are not willing to train, who are not the ambitious people, will probably stay because they won't take the vouchers, and the people that have ambition and maybe you want to keep in the company are more likely to look for a career outside.
Yes, thank you. First of all, the effects we find on the increased external mobility are effects corrected for the personality traits and for the ambition factor, so to say. So that is already filtered out. But I can imagine that as a company, you give a tool to your employees, and you might think certain people use the tool, and then they start thinking, hey, I need to be externally mobile. I think that as a company you have to consider the overall effects of a program that you offer to all employees. There will always be some people that will be motivated to then search for a job elsewhere, but there will always be people who will be motivated to work harder for the company, to invest in their own career and training, and that find a better suitable spot within the company. So all in all, this will balance out in the law of large numbers.
Okay, thanks very much. I think we had this morning some examples about our, let's say, new research context. First, applause.